Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the moods, safety and emotional well-being of those of you who have the moon located within the third house within your natal birth chart, but also for those of you who have the sign of Cancer ruling the third house within your natal birth chart as well. However, before we do get started, make sure that you give this video a like if you like it today. Also make sure to subscribe if you have not already and to click that little bell icon in order to keep yourself updated with further content from myself. And one more quick thing to mention, if you would like to know more information all about your moon sign, your moon house, along with your Cancer house and your fourth house within your birth chart, then I have created a Cancer season/archetype ebook. So what I am going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today if you would like. Okay, so with all those introductions out of the way, moon in the third house and Cancer ruling the third house individuals, let's do this. Okay, so if you have the moon within the third house or the sign of Cancer ruling the third house within your birth chart, then what this suggests is that you're someone who is very sensitive to your immediate environment and to the words that others say. So growing up in school, for example, you might have picked up on the emotions and the nuances of your classmates or your peers, or you might pick up on the emotional undertones located within other people's words and how they say them. And you might also remember how other people's words impact you on an emotional level as well. So if someone teases you or says something mean, you might forever remember that and possibly even hold a grudge towards the person who said it. Or if someone is really kind and really nice to you, you might remember that person as well, but more so as somebody who is very kind. And so you'll most likely say very kind and supportive words about them too, even if you eventually grow apart at some point in your lives. Which, by the way, you can be such intellectually supportive people where you can build your loved ones up with words of care and words of nourishment and support, or where you share harsh emotional truths that you feel others need, so they need to hear if they are to get better or if they are to move forward. Seriously, it's your words that can impact others on a deeper emotional level, just like others can impact you in the same way. So you might reflect upon your thoughts before you say them out loud, or you might think to yourself, well, how would I feel if someone else said this to me? And then as you sort of reflect on those feelings and those emotions, you will either say the thing or not say the thing, suggesting that you can be fairly empathetic communicators, being in the third house, Cancer ruling the third house individuals, as you communicate every word with care and comfort. However, this is not to say that you can't possibly ever hurt other people's feelings with your words, or that you don't run into conflicts and disagreements with others, because you very much can, okay? And so in this respect, you could quite possibly be that type of person who knows exactly what to say in order to actually hurt others. I certainly wouldn't want to be on the receiving end whilst having a dispute with you, because you can be that type of person who knows how to get under other people's skin when the time strikes to do so. So sure, you can be empathetic, but you also might use that same empathy to communicate words that are painful and cutting. Though, to be fair, it's most likely that you do this whenever you feel attacked or whenever you feel the need to protect yourself from other people. On the other hand, maybe you can react communicatively during times whenever you feel emotionally or mentally overwhelmed, or during times whenever you do not feel safe or secure. So you might say something that you don't mean, in the heat of the moment, or you might make a rash decision in the moment without thinking about the consequences, or you might grab the phone and call a loved one or a family member for support. And at times you can struggle with thinking rationally or objectively as well, as your moods, they can take over your mind. Then again, you might think that you are being rational at that time, but in actuality, you're reacting emotionally. Now, I'm not saying that this is wrong to do so, because you're going to feel how you're going to feel, right? But just be aware of your tendency to get lost in the moment as your mind becomes all cluttered, possibly resulting in you making decisions that might not be the best for you, and also possibly resulting in you lashing out at people as well. So if you ever feel overwhelmed, or if your security and safety ever feels threatened, make sure to take time to think things over, talk it out, come up with some practical and useful solutions, feel through the emotion, and certainly write it out. And what might also help you is watching maybe your favorite show or your favorite movie, or listening to your favorite music, which, by the way, you probably get a lot of emotional support and comfort out of these types of things, and out of the types of media that really can stimulate your mind. These things can be so nurturing for you. And the same could be said when it comes to learning or discovering new information, where you can make deep emotional connections with the things that you learn about. So you might remember that thing that your grandfather taught you as a child, for example, or you might keep those articles that your teacher gave you in school, or you might collect books or magazines as you store them in your home, as other examples here. Which, following on from this point, you might be a student of history, or you might prefer to learn about your ancestry or about your heritage. Perhaps remembering the past and where you come from is really, really important to you. Or maybe you really enjoy teaching others about history or about your past. And this kind of reminds me of my Mercury in Cancer boyfriend. It's quite a similar vibration to Moon in the third house or Cancer in the third. Because a few nights ago, him and I were watching a video on YouTube about the history of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And I found the video to be just far too fast. It was really, really difficult for me to keep up, but he actually sat with me and broke everything down in pieces in a way that I understood. And he also had a fair knowledge of and understanding as well of the events that occurred back then. Which, come to think about it here, if you do have these placements, then maybe you're also a highly supportive teacher. And especially if you go on to have children or a family of your own one day, you'll probably be very intellectually supportive with them as you teach them about the various subject matters that you have learned. And it could also be suggested that growing up, you were like this with your own siblings. Maybe you still are till this day, if it is that you have siblings. So this whole idea of being quite motherly towards your siblings, and there's also a level of protection here too. But essentially, perhaps it's the relationships that you have with your siblings that provide a great deal of emotional support and sustainability. Maybe you strongly depend on these bonds because to you, they're very, very important. Though on the other hand, maybe for some of you, you do not have the best relationship with your siblings, or maybe you don't have any siblings. Maybe there's a lack of emotional connection and support. So in this respect, it's good to consider the sign that the moon is in, along with aspects as well. But whatever the case may be here, all right, there still seems to be a theme of you having a motherly type of way of communicating and connecting intellectually, which, following on from this point, it might be that you often chat with your own mother, or that it's her you talk to anytime you need support. Maybe you have a friendly type of relationship with her, or maybe you feel like you can just talk to her about anything. But on the flip side of this, if the moon is more disharmoniously aspected, then maybe the relationship with her is quite disruptive and chaotic, a little bit all over the place. Maybe it can be kind of hard to get a hold of her, or maybe she's not the most mentally stable person. But ultimately here, there might be things associated with really needing intellectual support from the mother or vice versa. And there might also be themes of female figures just overall, so the likes of you growing up surrounded by female cousins or sisters or aunties. And if you did grow up surrounded by these figures, then maybe you grow into adulthood much more in tune with your emotions and with your sensitivities, or maybe you find it easier to connect with others just emotionally. But at the same time, it might actually be you, Moon in the third house, Cancer ruling the third house, who is learning how to communicate what you need emotionally from others as well. So you might have the habit of getting yourself into a frenzy as you try to figure out what everybody else needs, whilst failing to let others in on yours. And I think that this is partially because you find it difficult to communicate these things in a way that you feel heard. So you might be crying out for support from a loved one, for example, but you might not communicate what it is that the other person should do in order to help you, in order to support you in that moment. It's as if you expect the other person to connect with what you're feeling for that answer. But what you got to remember here is that others are not you, meaning that they might not be as empathetic or as emotionally attuned as you. Therefore, they might not get it. And if they don't, you might become very frustrated. So I guess something that would be beneficial and useful for you to learn is just how to communicate your needs using your words, rather than assuming that others are going to know your needs solely based on your feelings. Naturally though, I do understand that this is a lot easier said than done, and it's a lot more complex, especially given that you find it difficult to put your emotions into words at times. And rightfully so, you know, emotions can be difficult to put into words. It can be really hard. Then again, I would also say here, there can be some of you, or there may be a potentiality of you being great at putting your emotions into words just in other ways. So this could be through music or through art or through writing or through poetry, journaling. You might actually own a feelings journal, a moods journal, and if you don't, it might be helpful to own one. That way you can make sense of your feelings and your emotions a bit better. In fact, you might even be a great illustrator or a very artistic person, or you might be a great storyteller as you impact others with your wild and vivid imagination. And even though I just said that you can struggle to put your feelings into words, well, by communicating or speaking, you might actually get into the habit of verbalizing how you feel more effectively. Though, speaking of habits, it's good to keep in mind that the moon rules over our habitual patterns and cycles within the birth chart. It can be a very unconscious thing. And so in your case, maybe you have some habitual patterns in connection with certain thoughts that you have, such as experiencing repetitive thoughts, just replaying in your mind, or maybe you experience habitual patterns in connection with things that you watch, or with things that you learn about, or with things that you read. Also when it comes to things that you talk about. So this could be you watching the same movie time and time again, or this could be you sharing the same story just over and over as you communicate a memory from your past. And it's this memory that means just so much to you, which, by the way, you might have a great memory when it comes to events and experiences that have impacted you on an emotional level. So you might always remember that spot from the time that you had coffee for the first time, or you might never forget how you felt the day that you experienced your first kiss. And I also think that you're someone who appreciates your childhood classmates even up until your older years. So it's these classmates that become your friends for life. Or maybe the neighbors that you befriended as a child, they remain your friends for life as well. Essentially though, you're most likely somebody who really connects with a tight, close selection of people, who then become like family to you. But again, maybe the aspects within the chart can tell a different story here, okay? The last thing I just want to mention briefly is to do with nostalgia, because it's You individuals, moon in the third house, Cancer ruling the third house, who can reflect a lot on past early neighborhood experiences, past early schooling experiences. There can certainly be a lot of sentimental feelings that you hold towards these past events. And so in this respect, maybe you seek after a place of safety and security that reminds you of those times. Or maybe it's important to you that you live relatively close by to your family or to your loved ones. Or if you go on to have a family of your own, maybe you seek to teach them about the things that you were taught and about the events that occurred within your own neighborhood growing up. But whichever way this plays out for you personally, it is you, moon in the third house, Cancer ruling the third house individuals who can often reflect upon how life used to be. Okay, though whether you look back and you smile or you cringe or you laugh or you cry, that's really dependent upon what you experienced at the time and how these experiences made you feel, along with how these experiences make you feel today. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the moon's safety and emotional well-being of those of you who have moon located within the third house within the natal birth chart, but also for those of you who have the sign of Cancer ruling the third house within your natal birth chart as well. Now, if you happen to have any of these placements, definitely let us know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button, and also make sure that you give this video a like, remember, if you liked it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!